This was one of the strangest investigations of my career as a paranormal investigator. I was contacted by a middle-aged couple regarding problems with a car overriding the operator's driving commands. The car was recently given to their son by the parents of a deceased teen. The deceased person was actually their son's best friend, who was killed in a vehicle accident when the two had exchanged cars for the night. Their son had had a new Jeep Cherokee that his friend wanted to use to go on a date. While on said date, the friend was involved in an accident with a drunk driver and perished. The deceased boy's parents signed over the title of his Toyota pickup, both as a general gift and to replace his vehicle that was totaled in the wreck. I investigated the car with the help of a Toyota mechanic. He checked all systems, including the computer, braking, engine, and all sensors. Nothing was found. I drove the truck for 2 days on my normal daily routine with my DVR, EMF reader, camcorder, and dashcam running. No evidence collected. I returned the vehicle with my findings that I did not believe the vehicle was haunted. 6 weeks later, I was contacted again by the couple. The father was using the truck when suddenly the vehicle made an abrupt right turn, locked up the brakes, and went into a ditch. At the same time, a car driven by a drunk driver entered the road from a side street without stopping and proceeded to slam into a tree. All of this was witnessed by a sheriff who just so happened to be nearby, running radar. The drunk driver sustained minor injuries, and the father was unhurt. I was provided with the sheriff's number and asked to call him. When I called and told him what I was calling in reference to, he was happy to share not only a reading of the report he filed, but information that he said he could not include in the report. His report stated that while conducting normal duties, he witnessed a Mustang run a stop sign at speed and turn into the road, fishtailing, tires squealing. Almost immediately, it left the road and slammed head-on into a tree at approximately 45 miles per hour. He checked the accident victim and found him unconscious with minor trauma to the forehead. There was an open bottle of vodka spilling on the passenger seat. Then, the sheriff's statement not included in the report. I was parked facing an oncoming pickup truck when I witnessed its brakes lock up and make a sharp right turn into the ditch. My initial thought was that it was a stolen vehicle. The driver panicked when he saw me. Before I could react, the Mustang entered from a side road about 55 feet in front of me and turned towards the pickup, which had entered the ditch about 200 feet before it would have reached the side road. The driver of the pickup could not have seen the Mustang's approach due to trees and brush obscuring his line of sight. If he had not turned into that ditch, there would have been an unavoidable impact between the two vehicles. How he knew to react the way he did is beyond me. The driver's statement to me was that he did not perform the action. The truck did it by itself. So about 3 months ago, I was on my way home from my second oldest son's house. It was late evening, but still daylight. The road I was traveling was a state route, 2-lane. The area, rural, with a combination of cornfields and woods, with quite a few hilly areas. Traffic was fairly light. At one point, I come upon a fire truck blocking the roadway. Road was closed, so I turned around and, being familiar with the area, made my way around the closure and went on. I texted an old colleague from the local sheriff's department and asked what was going on with the closed road. Now, before he answered me back, I had an overwhelming feeling hit me, telling me to just stick around in the area. There's a cemetery close to that area that I go to quite often. I record videos and audio. So that's where I started heading to. I then get the response. It's a fatal crash with a car versus truck, head on, female driver deceased, and she's from the area. After I pulled into the cemetery, I got another message. This one had 2 photos attached to it. I opened the attachments, and it was as horrible as I imagined it was. One photo was of her car, totally destroyed. Sheet still covering the driver compartment. Obviously, body's not visible. There were 2 firefighters in the photo, one standing at the driver's door, looking down into the car. Next to him was the medical examiner, I believe, who was also looking down into the driver area. The second firefighter was standing on the passenger's side at the door. He too was standing down, looking into the driver area. All 3 had a somber look on their face. The look made you think that they were thinking to themselves, what a shame, what a waste, too young, etc. Now, in the background of this photo was what you'd expect to see: a fire truck, another emergency vehicle, and of course, trees and so on. It's still light out, with clear skies. Now, I've been given the deceased driver's name because due to the career I retired from, I'd dealt with her on several occasions, and he knew that. He too had to deal with her a couple of times. Now, as I sat there in the cemetery, looking at this photo, I kept getting that overwhelming feeling that I was missing something in the photo. And that inner voice, if you want to call it that, kept telling me to look again, keep looking. So that's exactly what I did. I kept looking at it. Finally, something said, enlarge it. Zoom in on the 2 at the driver's door. It was almost like something was begging me to keep looking, to not stop until I found it. So that's what I did. And then it was like a hammer hit me in the head. Every hair on my body stood up on end, all at once. I gasped for a breath of air. I became physically sick to my stomach. As I'm writing this, I have tears in my eyes. I'm fighting not to cry. As I stated, I knew this female, but it had been a few years since I dealt with her. There was no denying it. In that photograph of the crash scene, just behind the 2 EMS workers standing at the driver's door, was the face of the deceased driver. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. And for me, there's no denying that she was standing behind them, looking down into the driver's compartment. The look on her face was the look of complete and total shock, like she was staring at her own body, crumpled up in the floorboard area, asking herself, why? What have I done? What about my daughter? She leaves a 5-year-old daughter behind. I took a screenshot of the enlarged photo to show the deputy. He's somewhat of a skeptic. The following day, I went to see him. I got the full story of what apparently took place, but I showed him the screenshot. I won't release the information out of respect for the family. They've paid too much already. But the look on her face was explained a bit more when I heard what led to the crash. I told the deputy I wanted him to look at an enlarged version of the photo. When I held it up for him to see, his face instantly, without hesitation, went white. Eyes open wide, jaw dropped. He gasped for air and looked at me, saying, "That's her." There's no way. It's not possible because she's dead when that's taken. Now, I've shown that photo to a limited number of people just out of privacy for her family, but everyone that's seen it all have the same reaction. They see her face instantly, without being told what to look for or what they might see. In the photograph, her appearance is what she looked like several years ago. Original hair color and style. In the 23 plus years of my job, I've seen a lot of death. I've had people, including children, literally die in my arms, and I've handled a lot of crashes with fatalities, where I took the photos, etc., and I have never had this happen. I had heard of it, but didn't really believe it could happen. Well, I'm no longer skeptical of this type of thing taking place, where death was instant and traumatic.